today we're reviewing the second generation of the NOVE Atlantean. In my opinion, one of the most original dive watches I ever saw. With a flipped dive watch concept where the outer bezel is fixed and holds the traditional loomed hour markers, and a timing bezel that floats above the dial under the crystal, it makes for a great conversation starter. You might say it just has an internal bezel like many supercompressor styled watches out there, and while that might be true in the case of the Marine I reviewed, with this, things are a little different. Despite having a fixed bezel insert, the actual teeth on the outer bezel turn. And not only that, but once you unlock the safety mechanism, the teeth on the outside get connected with the bezel found on the inside. So you get an actual 120 click bezel like you find on regular dive watches. But you're moving the inner floating minutes scale. That feat in itself is impressive, but what makes it even more impressive is the fact the watch still comes with 300 meters of water resistance, despite the fact an outer shaft gets inside the case. Truly impressive. Also, the clicks themselves are really nice and a tactile joy, while the bezel itself is bidirectional, allowing for an easier and faster timing set. And because the locking mechanism locks the bezel in place and you can't move it at all, it makes more sense than if they went with a unidirectional found on traditional dive watches. I love the original Atlantean, but at 50mm in diameter and 55 lug to lug, despite wearing smaller than the numbers would suggest, it was still way too large for my small 6.5-inch wrist. For this second generation, NOVE shaved off 4mm in diameter and more than 5 lug to lug, which in watch world makes a huge difference. Even though this is still a large watch on paper, it wears surprisingly small and fits my small wrist perfectly. It wraps around it the way the Seiko SUN Kinetic Tuna does. It also shares a similar case construction with the outer protective part that also features the lugs that has a brushed finish and the inner one that actually houses the movement and bezel, which has a highly polished one. The inner case is seen through the cutouts, making for a striking design. Speaking of the tuna, the loom on this matches my Emperor, which is by far the best loomed watch in my collection. And if you ever handled the tuna before, you know a praise can't get any higher than that. I kinda expected the loom to be great on this simply because of the way it is applied, but this managed to exceed my expectations. Unlike the first generation that had a quirky mother of pearl dial, this second one comes with traditional dial colors that include black, blue, and green, making for a more toned down watch, if one can say that about something that looks like this on the outside. Using normal matte finish on the dial has affected the legibility as well, making this much easier to read than the first one, and thanks to massive hands that match the markers in both size and loom application, you'll be able to tell the time in any and every condition imaginable. The bracelet is massive and well made, with only on-the-fly adjustment not matching the rest of the watch execution-wise, as it is stamped. Luckily, if you find the bracelet too massive for your taste, they included end links that allow you to put the watch on regular straps, something they never offered before. To make the switch as easy as possible, they also included quick-release spring bars on the end links, which is always a bonus. The movement used is also a step up from the Ronda R150 used in the first generation, as now they use a better-known Sellita SW200 that is visible through the open caseback, while the large, easy-to-grip crown makes it easy to operate. I always like reviewing NOVE watches because they're always so different than anything else out there. But because they don't use existing and proven concepts, I always find flaws and things I would change, like the too loose bezel on the Marine, or the size and lever position on the first Atlantean. Well, on this, apart from the stamped on-the-fly adjustment, there is absolutely nothing I would change. They really fine-tuned an original concept and made a serious watch that looks and operates unlike anything else out there. So if you like quirky watches that still retain excellent functionality and legibility, this is by far the best model from NOVE so far, and one of the most interesting divers on the market currently. I'm actually thinking about keeping this one in the collection. That's how much I like it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found it useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and until the next video, bye.